For at least 1 week, we got a reprieve from good old-fashioned Bears football. Because the Bears got their first win of the season against the Cowboys last Sunday afternoon in the national featured spotlight, no less, right? They owned the Cowboys pretty much 31-14. I don't think that's homerish to say. Like they kicked that ass. They really did. They got revenge against their old head coach, now Cowboys defensive coordinator Matt Eberflus. Because of course they did. If I only had a brain. And it represented Ben Johnson's first win as Chicago's head coach. So that's exciting, right? And the season that got off to a really, really rough start. Back-to-back divisional losses, pissing it down their legs in the fourth quarter on Monday night against Minnesota, and then getting stomped in week 2 against Detroit. At least for a week, there's a reprieve against like the impending doom of the Armageddon. A positive of this season so far through 3 games has been Caleb Williams is actually playing pretty well. Maybe not great or exceptional or anything like that. Let's pump the brakes there, but you can definitely see progression and growth with how he plays in structure, how he's decisive with the throws that he makes. Like, that's great to see. What's not so great to see, and is still a problem, is he's just missing too many basic throws. Too many of them. Throwing it at guys' feet, throwing it way over their heads. Like, when they sit there and try to blame, oh, DJ Moore didn't run the right route a couple of weeks ago. How about no, Caleb just threw a shitty ball, and there's enough evidence of him throwing shitty balls like that to say that's on him. He has got to get better at that if he wants to be a top-flight NFL quarterback. Because in some other respects, when you look at the arm talent, you look at the mobility, you look at the improvisation ability, those are things that suggest he can be a top-tier quarterback. But most top-tier quarterbacks execute the basic shit consistently. Caleb does not right now. That's got to get better the next 14 games of this season. In other news, you've got Rome Odunze showing that he is living up to being a top 10 pick. You have Luther Burden finally hitting the radar last week. Hey, we drafted this dynamic playmaker in the second round. Might be a good idea to use him. Let's see what the fuck happens. And he responds to 3 catches over 100 yards and a touchdown. Gee, feature that. Maybe you should do more of that, right? But it's not all roses here. DeAndre Swift still fucking sucks. Just sucks. And you'll have some that'll try and tell you this offensive line through 3 games has performed better than they have. They have not played well. I don't give a fuck what anybody says. The defense was better last week, forcing 4 turnovers, but that's still not a good unit. They are not a good defense. And now you come into this situation where you're going on the road. It's a chance, a big game. Get yourself to 2-2 before the bye. You can start to really wash the taste out of your mouth from the first 2 weeks and what happened there. And you're back to kind of square one at 2-2. 2 weeks to prepare, maybe get a little healthier, and then you're off from that point on. Meanwhile, for the Las Vegas Raiders, they also come into this game 1-2. They kind of got boat raced last weekend on the road against the Commanders, and that was without Jaden Daniels, right? That was Marcus Mariota. Like, they got boat raced 41-24. It wasn't great. Geno Smith, who they brought in the offseason via trade for a third-round pick from the Seattle Seahawks, he's been okay, but he's 4 interceptions so far this year, the 12 sacks through 3 games. You can say it's a bit on him, but it's really on that offensive line that is just not up to snuff. It's impacting the passing game, and it's certainly impacting the running game. A little bit of a positive sign if you're a Raiders fan. Ashton Jeanty was more productive last week, certainly, but far from meeting the expectations so far. But one thing I will caution here is, in our culture today, it is so much about the instant knee-jerk, reactionary, reflex take, right? Go back and look at Emmitt Smith's performance the first few games of his career. Barry Sanders, Walter Payton, some of the all-time greats, their first couple of starts, they sucked. Or limited opportunities or what have you. So let's not break out the bus labels for a guy after 3 games is all I'm saying. Just like after 3 games, you should be a little cautious, a little hesitant, reticent to break out the anointing oils, as easy as that could do. Another problem for this offense is Brock Bowers has under 40 yards receiving each of the last 2 games. The guy that set some rookie records as a tight end last season hasn't quite lived up to that form so far through 3 games, but it's still early in the year. You brought in Pete Carroll, 74-year-old ass, to be defensive head coach, yet your defensive unit's bottom third in the league in yards and points allowed. That's not great. They gave up over 200 rushing yards last week to the Commanders, which if you had a smart team with a competent running game, they would take advantage of that. But unfortunately, the Bears have DeAndre Swift, and I'm sure will insist on continuing to try and force him to happen. And you already know I'm going there. If you look at this for the Raiders, though, for all intents and purposes, this is a must-win. It really is. If they go to 1-3, it's pretty much you think it's got to be a wrap. Because they're already staring down the barrel of being the worst team in their division, and they're going to have a better record than every other non-division winner in the AFC if they start 1-3. I highly fucking doubt it. So they have to have this one. I think it's important for the Bears too, don't get me wrong, and almost a must-have, but it is a critical to have for the Las Vegas Raiders. Heading into this one, the Raiders are favored by a point at home, so that suggests that the money's not landing that strongly on the Raiders. The over-under for this one is 47.5, which is a reflection of the money thinking that both of these defenses suck, which is true, so it's an understandable play there. As you look at the injury report and what it means, the Raiders certainly come into this one in better shape. You might have Michael Mayer out due to a concussion, but they're relatively healthy otherwise. Meanwhile, for the Bears, you've already got Grady Jarrett declared out. You've got TJ Edwards declared out again. Darnell Wright now is out. Colston Loveland and Kyler Gordon, I believe, are deemed questionable. So at least 3 starters already slated for out. And you got 2 more that could be, or even if they do play on Sunday, would be limited. Bad kind of luck early on in the year here for the Bears. And that doesn't even begin to mention, hey, Jalen Johnson's out for a couple of months, right? That's their best defensive player. So, not a good start to the season in terms of health and luck for the Chicago Bears. Looking ahead to this matchup, some of the keys to the victory. First for Chicago, get the ball in Luther Burden's hands more. You saw what his speed and his playmaking ability did for this passing game and offense last Sunday. This is not the time to be going back to 1 target for 7 yards or some dumb dick shit like that. Find ways to get him involved in the offense. Period. Good coaches would do that. We'll find out if Ben Johnson does that on Sunday. Also in the running game, again, enough DeAndre Swift. Even if you come back after Sunday's game, it's he had 14 carries for 70-something yards. He was efficient and effective. And it's going to be, who gives a shit? Because he still fucking sucks. Give 7th-round pick Kyle Monangai more carries. He runs with more physicality, more effort. He breaks more tackles. He makes more tackles miss. This is a no shit, what the fuck are we doing here kind of thing. And then Roschon Johnson, why doesn't he ever get any carries in this offense? I just don't get it. Because he can't possibly be worse than DeAndre Swift, really. Mix it up in the fucking running game. Because this is a team that just gave up in the Raiders. Their defense gave up over 200 yards rushing on Sunday. You got to find backs that can exploit that and make things happen. And then for the Bears, sack the damn quarterback. As I mentioned, the Raiders' offensive line has already given up 12 sacks in 3 games. If the Bears can't get a ton of pressure and get some sacks on Geno this Sunday, then that's a huge fucking problem. I'm sorry. That's a huge problem. Meanwhile, for the Raiders, I think it's a heavy dose of Ashton Jeanty on the ground. This whole thing about Chip Kelly kind of sort of keeping him on a pitch count and load management, and this is not a load management game. This is you drafted this dude 6 overall. You're 1-2. You badly need this one. He has to be a focal point of your offense. Because if he's not, then why the fuck did you draft him so high? That's stupid. I understand some weeks you might not want to put 25 carries, 25 touches on Jeanty. That's fine. But this can't be one of those weeks. This has to be a 20 to 25 touch week for him. Because it's there against the Bears. This, for all intents and purposes, should be a 100-plus yard game for him. And if it's not, shame on Chip Kelly, shame on Pete Carroll, shame on the Raiders for not making that happen. the Raiders also, they got to avoid giving up turnovers. It's what bit the Cowboys in the ass last week. They turned the ball over 4 times. You can't give the Bears those opportunities. Make them earn it, especially when you're at home. In the passing game, 10 plus targets for Brock Bowers. No more of this like 5 catches for 38 yards bullshit. He's a special talent at tight end. Find a way to make your special talent special in the games. Again, not that fucking hard. And then attack the right side of that Bears offensive line. Darnell Wright's out. Looks like undrafted second-year player Theo Benedetta is going to be starting at right tackle, which, by the way, the fact that the Bears drafted a right tackle in the second round who was supposed to be pro-ready in Ozzie Trapillo, and he's not the guy that's going to be starting in place of Darnell Wright, is a major fucking red flag. Everybody else agree in Bears fan land? I'm just saying. But attack the right side of that line, because Jonah Jackson is not good. It's just, as I've watched the film the past couple weeks, teams just aren't attacking him very much, what I find stunning. Like, you should have seen in the film in Minnesota that he absolutely sucked. Like, go at him and make him prove it, and he will crumble. And then you've got Benedict at right tackle. Like, you've got to attack blitzes. You've got to sit there and make sure Max Crosby's lined up over there as much as possible. Whatever you've got to do, like attack the right side of the Bears' offensive line. If you do, you could have a successful day getting after Caleb Williams. 2 1-2 teams going to want this one. This could be a good one. You know, it'd be great to see how Caleb Williams does in the 4th game of the season. And then for the Raiders, like, there's a piece of me that worries, like, man, this is exactly the type of spot and moment in this organization's track record where an Astrid Genti breaks out and has a huge game, and or Brock Bowers plays like Brock Bowers, and you're like, oh, fuck, of course they did. Bears football! But then I got to remember, like, this Raiders team isn't very good either. This could be close, but I'm going to take the Bears 24-22. Maybe a late field goal to win it. Who knows? But boy, if the Bears lose this one, you're 1-3 heading into the bye. That puts you in a really, really tough spot.